Hello there. Today's subject is, in my opinion, very important, but also a bit difficult to talk about here on YouTube. So let's see what I can do. This is from the Associated Press from last year, incidentally. No, farmers aren't required to jab their livestock with the similar kind of, medicine as we all were demanded to get during the 2019-2020, pandemic we had. This is about a claim that farmers and ranchers are required to do so, and the Associated Press is saying that this is false. There's no mandate in the US that livestock receive these jabs, and it says here that there are no, that pandemic type jabs licensed for animals, as some online have suggested. And then they try to defend it, saying that basically these types of jabs are perfectly safe and normal and natural, and it's all a big conspiracy. They make a big fuss about it. They do admit that there are some animal jabs that use similar platforms. The pharmaceutical company Merck has, for several years, I believe from 2018, offered a customizable jab using what it calls, the messenger things, particle technology. The company creates these jabs against the flu and other viruses in pigs to protect a specific herd as needed. That approach predates the advent of the pandemic messenger type of jabs. From what I heard, it still counts as the same technology basically, and the same worries, if you have any, if you're a conspiracy theorist obviously, then they still apply. They also say that the notion that these types of particles would be transmissible through animal consumption, much less cause harm to the consumer, is not rooted in scientific evidence, experts told the Associated Press. They say that these particles are extremely fragile and typically gone within days of receipt. We know that, this is obviously true because the Associated Press said so, but the conspiracy theorists talked about you still having it in your body for several months afterwards. The chance of these things being transferred, even hypothetically, is extremely unlikely, they say. I'm going to point out that currently they are have already implemented a jab in Japan with a new version of this stuff that is not at all fragile and in fact essentially could keep going for life. Just a thought. I'm once again, these are topics that I would love to deep dive into, but I don't think it is acceptable to do so on YouTube. So, this is talking about the same type of jabs in livestock from the Tennessee Farm Bureau. They're saying the key takeaways, these types of jabs are, well, being researched in livestock medicine, and they're saying that none of the commonly used ones are licensed for cattle use. And the same thing, that there's the Security, which is developed by Merck Animal Health in 2018, utilizes these things and licensed for use in pork, in swine. And there are proposals to ban these things or to designate meat from animals treated with these things on labels, and these proposals have been brought forth around the country in recent months. So this is something that I didn't know until, yesterday when I found out about it. But apparently, yes, some people might be eating these things without knowing, and they might not want to. Of course, there would be conspiracy theorists and very, very wrong. But is there perhaps a right for people to have their own opinion on what they would and would not consume and put in the body? And should we not allow them the choice to knowingly reject certain types of, food or medicine as they see fit because of bodily autonomy? I would say that's a good idea to allow bodily autonomy, but apparently that only is a value and a virtue when you're talking about, women that are pregnant in the late stages of abortion, of pregnancy, I mean. That's when it's very important to have bodily autonomy. If you look, most places don't really care about your bodily autonomy in terms of what you are and are not capable of rejecting. meaning there are quite a few penalties for kids that have not been jabbed enough as per the state's wishes by their parents. Like even going to school can be difficult. And for some specific cases, like there are a few jabs that you might say, well, that's true. We used to have a big trouble with this kind of thing. The jab has been in use for decades and it didn't seem to do anything bad. But then you have the new schedules where basically you jab the kid with a billion different things all at once. And since we've started using those schedules, we've seen a huge rise in all sorts of problems, including autism. Of course, it's not connected because that would be conspiracy theory and right-wing misinformation. But yeah, that's a thing. This is from the AFP fact check. They're saying that these types of jabs cannot transfer through meat consumption. Of course they can't. Articles and social media posts claim people can inadvertently receive the messenger type jabs by eating meat from inoculated farm animals. This is false. Experts say this is not how these things work, and there are no such shots approved for livestock in the US. Like I said, they already did approve those things from 2018. It's already been in the pork, not in all, obviously, but in some. This is a rancher, Organic Beef Matters, Alder Spring Ranch, talking about the issue and essentially asking some questions like, is the jab persistent in the meat? Will humans be ingesting this thing via consumption of the meat from the animal? And the second thing is that sort of jab safe in the long term for livestock, or will it cause subsequent health complications that may then compromise our animal protein food supply? The first one, the unknown number one. Most of the research surrounding this idea of persistence after ingesting indicates that it is not persistent. The FDA, USDA will most likely require 30 or more days withdrawal of treated animals from entrance to the food supply. In other words, no animal can be slaughtered for human food until those minimum timeframes have been met. Most of these jab research indicates that denaturing of the genetic material occurs within several days of inoculation. If it so happens that somehow the material remains intact through ingestion, most scientists argue that the messenger thing is fairly fragile and will not survive the acidic environment of the stomach. Potential problems with this strain of thought. What if the researchers are wrong? What if the genetic material is persistent and can even survive ingestion and digestion? Research has definitely been wrong before. Also, an interesting side note is that the Chinese are currently testing an ingestible messenger thing jab. Human test subjects take it orally. If the messenger thing and genetic material can survive this digestive process, why not via ingested and digested animal muscle tissue? Bottom line on thing persistence, we don't have all the facts. He says here's the fact that he himself, the writer of the article, and rancher and owner of the Alder Spring Ranch, has no interest in eating messenger thing inoculated animal products. Simply put, I will not eat them, he says. Now, do you feel the same? Do you feel otherwise? How much trust do you have in institutions and in the science from the experts? Unknown number 2. As with the application and CDC recommendations surrounding the jab from that pandemic, pharmaceutical companies and government experts are saying that animal messenger thing is completely safe for livestock. Potential problem with this, again, we don't really know, especially since there is a complete absence of long-term studies on messenger thing in general. Furthermore, we have no record of widespread use of needle injection of isolated genetic materials into livestock. There are no short or long-term studies specific to this. On his ranch, he says we do not administer any inoculation for viral infections. He says that everyone he knows in the conventional cattle industry inoculates for viral disease. He says he doesn't. He says he's seen no difference in the wellness of their cattle from not inoculating. Because actually, our annual percentage of animals requiring veterinary care has dropped after we stopped using the viral jabs 12 years ago. So he has a very naturalistic and conservative approach. But regardless, this is not about that particular ranch. It's just to demonstrate some simple questions about the issue. And the questions are basically, we've been told before that something is safe and effective, and today a lot of people think that it might not be. And also there are projects that show that the claims this kind of messenger thing is fragile and won't survive digestion and persist long enough for your body to be affected, well, that they might be wrong. There's also the idea that once the I believe they call it SA, self-amplifying messenger thing. After that becomes commonplace, because once again, it is in a jab currently being in use in Japan. Well, would you then get the self-amplifying thing from the meat, and then your body will start creating more and more of the particles that essentially tell your body to produce more of both themselves and of the messenger thing, like from the old jab. So essentially you'd perpetually be, jabbed as if you took it. Is that possible with the new technology that's coming up? There are many questions about this sort of thing, and one of the main contentions is that we do not have long-term studies about any of this, because this is all new. And so this is an experiment, essentially, that we are being all drafted into, and the claim is that 1, we should be informed, and 2, we should have the choice of refusing. And this is the minimum, the bare minimum. Of course, there are people who say that it is completely not safe and that it should be halted altogether. But at the bare minimum, people want to be informed and they want to have the choice to consent or not. I find it very strange that there's such a vehement opposition to these two basic requirements. Essentially saying anyone who's worried about this is stupid, misinformed, evil, etc. I can't help but feel as though there is some maleficence in avoiding the very basics. That said, diving any further into the subject, I feel might get me in trouble, if I haven't already. Let's see how this video actually does. If you have anything to add that you feel would go through the filter in the algorithm, feel free to comment below. I'd very much love to hear from anyone about this issue, because I'm curious. Am I alone in this, or are there others in the same position? I think there are quite a few, but who knows. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.